praise and recitation of the name. Oh Govinda, feeling your separation at times that's going on for like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. And I know Krishna is my Lord, and he sure remains so, even if he hounds me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken hearted by not being present for me. He is completely free to be without any for his life all unconditional. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan Ki. Jaya Gopirana Vallabha Giridharadhari Asuranandana Bhajana Ranjana Asuranandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanya Vihari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridharadhari Asuranandana Bhajana Ranjana Asuranandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Prabhupadaya, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Visma Bandha Svaj Gadara Sishima Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Babadi Ki Jai Gavraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Guru Pamanandi Ogloy Samadavadis Ogloy Samadavadis Ogloy Samadavadis Ogloy Stashigun Shigranga. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 22, the marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti, text number 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today is also the auspicious day of Parents' Day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, so I'll be speaking a little bit about him. So Gadadhar Pandit, of course, is the one of the members of the Panchatattva. When we chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivas Adiga Bhaktivinoda. So a very special personality. So today's verse 31, Kusha Kashamayamba here. Astira Bhagavan Manu Ayajad Pusham Labdastanam Yatabhuvam Kusha Kashamayamba here. Astiya Bhagavan Manu Ayajad Yagna Purusham Labdastanam Yatobhavam Kusha Kasha Mayamba here. Astiya Bhagavan Manu Ayajad Yagna Purusham Labdastanam Yatobhavam. Somebody like to chant? Kusha Kasha Mayamba here. Astiya Bhagavan Manu Hayajad Yagna Purusham Labdastanam Yatobhavam Kusha Kusha Mayamba here. Ayajad Bhagavan Manu Ayajad Yagna Purusham Labdastanam Yatobhavam. Word for word, Kusha of Kusha grass, Kasha and of Kasha grass, Mayam made, Bahi a seat, Astiriya having spread, Bhagavan the greatly fortunate, Manahu Swayambhuva Manu, Ayajat worshipped, Yagna Purusham Lord Vishnu, Labda had achieved Stanam, the abode, Yataha, from whom? Bhuvam, the earth. Translation, Purpose Angry CC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, Manu spread a seat of kushas and kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Purport, Manu is the father of mankind, and therefore from Manu comes the word man, or in Sanskrit, manusha. Those who are in a better position in the world, having sufficient wealth, should especially take lessons from Manu, who acknowledge his kingdom and opulence to be gifts from the Supreme Personality Godhead, and thus always engage in devotional service. Similarly, the descendants of Manu, or human beings, especially those who are situated in a well-to-do condition, must consider that whatever riches they have are gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those riches should be utilized for the service of the Lord in sacrifices performed to please him. That is the way of utilizing wealth and opulence. No one can achieve wealth, opulence, good birth, a beautiful body, or nice education without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, those who are in possession of such valuable facilities must acknowledge their gratefulness to the Lord by worshipping him and offering what they have received from him. When such acknowledgement is given either by a family, nation, or society, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha, and it becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of this material world. In the modern age, the mission of Krishna consciousness is for everyone to acknowledge the supremacy of Lord Krishna. Whatever one has in his possession must be considered a gift by the grace of the Lord. Therefore, everyone should engage in devotional service through Krishna consciousness if one wants to be happy and peaceful in his position, either as a householder or citizen or member of the human society. One must promote devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. So in the previous verse we heard that Swayambhuva Manu's capital, Bahishmati, was particularly blessed and opulent because when Varaha, Lord Vishnu in the boar form of Varaha, was fighting Hiranyaksha, some hairs of his body fell down, and that place where it landed, that became particularly blessed. It's like we can use the word tadiya, something in relationship with Vishnu is non-different from Vishnu. So even though it's just hairs from the body, this is non-different from Vishnu himself. So that area became particularly blessed, and that was Swayambhuva Manu's capital, Bahishmati. And so especially blessed in that way. It's interesting that also that it's mentioned that those hairs actually turned into kusha grass, kusha and kasha, it's mentioned. So kusha grass, of course, like we heard, Manu, he had a mat of kusha grass, particularly very auspicious to sit on to perform yagnas and devotional service. And it's said that there's only one thing in this universe that wasn't created by Lord Brahma, and it could be said that the lotus flower, because the lotus originally comes from the navel of Lord Vishnu. So, but here we could say that actually the kusha grass also wasn't created by Lord Brahma. It was originally coming from Lord Vishnu, and that hair from his body manifested as this kusha grass. So, kusha grass is also known as Durva grass, and this is where Durvasa Muni gets his name from, because it mentioned the Gopal Tapani Upanishad that Durvasa Muni has made the vow since Satyayuga that he would subsist only on the juice of durba grass. So, something like when we go to health food shop and we get a shot of that wheatgrass juice, similar type of thing, durba grass. Actually, I did mention in my previous class something about durba grass, but you can buy it on eBay, actually. It's about $100 a litre it costs. There's a Ayurvedic shop, online Ayurvedic shop in India, you can buy it, 1 litre. So it's very nutritious, apparently. So Durvasa Muni, he gets that name because he made that vow. He would subsist only on the juice of durba grass. And but that kusha grass is always very prominent when you're sitting on, like performing yagnas or any sort of devotional service, sitting on a grass, a mat of kusha grass is considered like pure, very auspicious, because ultimately it's coming from the hairs of the body of Lord Vishnu. So we see that the Swayambhuva Manu, he was offering everything. He recognised that everything that he had was coming from the blessing of the Lord Vishnu. So everything he did, he was offering back to Vishnu or Krishna. So like Prabhupada mentioned the purport that worshipping Krishna and offering what they received from him. So another example, Prithvi Maharaj, he offered everything, every aspect of his body to the Lord. So with his eyes, he was seeing the Lord, the deity form, the Lord. With his ears, hearing the kirtan. His nose, he was smelling the incense. With his hands, he was offering arti. With his legs, he was walking to the temple. With his whole body, he was touching the bodies of other devotees. Every aspect of his body he was utilising. So it was ultimately given by Krishna, but he was offering it back in that way. And Bali Maharaj, he's the ideal example given of one who has offered everything. He's the process of Atma Nivedanam, offering everything. We know the story that Vamanadev, or Vishnu appeared as Vamanadev, the dwarf Brahmana, and he tricked Bali Maharaj he just asked for 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj is thinking, well, he's only a little boy, how much can that be? But he expanded so much that his first step covered the whole planet, second step, the whole universe, and he said, Bali Maharaj, where I'll put my 3rd step. And so Bali Maharaj bowed down, you can put it on my head. So offering everything. So this is the mood. So we receive these gifts from Krishna, but then he's asking to have them offered back. So how to understand that? He's giving it, and then he says, now give it back. So what's that mentality? And he wants to be acknowledged that, I'm the one that's giving it to you. So for the non-devotees, they think, well, he must be, big ego trip or something. He wants everything. Why should I worship him? What about me? Why should I give everything to him? That sort of mentality. There's some sort of selfishness within the heart. So why does he want everything offered back? So in Bhagavad Gita 9.2, Krishna tells Arjuna that, O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you perform, should be done as an offering to me. So, of course, it's not that Krishna needs anything, even though he's giving everything away. It's not that he needs everything, but what he actually wants is our love. It's not that he's hungry and he has to eat, but what he wants is the love that we're giving with that offering. And when we're offering with love, he becomes pleased and he blesses the devotee. So that's the main point. We become blessed. So it's not that he needs anything from us, it's us who need to give it to him. And we give it to him with that love, and then he becomes pleased and he blesses the devotees. So when we do it for our own happiness, basically it's sense gratification. When we do it for Krishna's happiness, then that's devotional service. But we see practical observation that even if a person is not offering, extremely selfish, not offering anything to anybody, what to speak of God, even that person is blessed. You know, that person may have some enmity against everyone else and against Krishna, but Krishna doesn't reciprocate in the way that he becomes envious or inimical to that person. He still has love for that jiva. It's just at the moment he's forgotten, or she's forgotten that relationship. So we had that story from the Bible, the prodigal son. The son goes away and spends all the father's wealth, and then he comes back and still the father, "Oh, my son, you've come back," and embraces him. You know, that love the father had for the son, even if he was doing nonsense, that's still love there. And another example, that even as a criminal, you know, he's working against the government and he's put into jail, but in jail he is still provided, you know, the essentials from the government. So it's the same point that, you know, Krishna ultimately provides everything for everybody, even if we don't recognize where it's coming from. So it's just a few points about that verse, but we'll go on to Parents' Day of Sri Gadadhar. So Gadadhar, of course, we can say, who is Sri Gadadhar? Simple answer is he was Srimati Radharani, and which is obviously correct. Guru Ganesh Dipika, it describes that Srimati Radharani is celebrated as Sri Gadadhar Pandit. But Gadadhar Pandit is a very deep, very mysterious, esoteric personality. So it's far more than simply Srimati Radharani. So I'll just present some points that's coming from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, different acharyas have commented about the deep sort of understanding and personality identity of who actually Gadadhar Pandit is. So he was born in the village of Baleti Gram in the Chittagong district of Bangladesh in the family of Virendra Brahmanas in, anybody know what year? In 1486. And why is 1486 an important year?
Same year
As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes, very good. So 1486 AD, on the dark moon day of the month of Vaishak, which is of course today. So Sri Gadadhar was a constant companion of Nimai Pandit Mahaprabhu from their childhood. His father's name was Sri Madhava Misra and his mother's name was Sri Ratnavati Devi. So the parents of Gadadhar Pandit and Nimai Pandit, they were very close actually. They actually lived, their houses was very close to each other in Mayapur. And Ratna Devi thought of Sachi Devi, Nimai Pandit's mother, as her own sister, and they were always together visiting each other. So during their childhood, Nimai Pandit and Gadadhar would play together. They studied together at the same school. And so Gadadhar, his personality, he was from his very childhood very serene, patient, calm, quiet, fond of solitude and very renounced. So Nimai Pandit, during the time of his sort of precocious youth, he would ask his fellow students meaningless, fallacious questions of logic. He'd always been challenging his schoolmates on, all sorts of logic, and it was disturbing for his other students and his friends, but this was just the mood that Nimai Pandit was in at that time. So Gadadhar, he wasn't particularly fond of all this pastime, and he was always trying to remain at a distance, but Nimai, he would never let him. As soon as he'd see Gadadhar, he'd go running over and say, Gadadhar, and hit him with all these logical questions and arguments and like that. So that was just the mood Nimai Pandit was in. But one time he said, Gadadhar, in a very short time, I'll become such a Vaishnava that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva themselves will come to my door. And Gadadhar would just shake his head. This Nimai is too much. What's he talking about? So indirectly, he's giving a glimpse of his associates, actually, who he is. But at that time, there was, some Yoga Maya covering over these other personalities. But he's just revealing a little bit of I'll become such a great Vaishnava. So from Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Lila, chapter 7, verses 78 to 118, I'm just sort of paraphrasing here a little bit. So Sri Gadadhar Pandit was very affectionate toward Mukunda Datta. Actually, we heard this story yesterday from Vasu Prabhu, but I'll just repeat it. One time, Pundarik Vijayanidhi is a great devotee from I think originally Bangladesh. He came to Navadvip, and Mukunda invited Gadadhar to come along and meet him, and Gadadhar was very excited that he would get darshan of such a Vaishnava. However, when Gadadhar saw Pundarik Vijayanidhi dressed and acting like a wealthy materialist, he lost whatever reverence he previously felt. And even before speaking with him, Gadadhar Pandit was thinking, how can a Vaishnava look and act as if he was so addicted to sense gratification? However, Mukunda, he actually knew the true character of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, and he could also sense the doubt that was coming into Gadadhar's mind. So thus he began to recite shlokas from the Srimad Bhagavatam in a very sweet voice. And so when Pundarik Vijayanidhi, he heard these beautiful recitations from Bhagavatam. In a fit of ecstasy, he began to cry and rip his clothes and smash all his paraphernalia, just calling out Krishna, Krishna, tears coming from his eyes, and eventually he just fainted to the floor in complete ecstasy. But then Gadadhar realised, actually, he was very remorseful in his mind. He thought to himself, because I have ignorantly considered this highly advanced soul to be an ordinary materialist, what an offence I've committed. So very remorseful like that. And so he's thinking, how can I escape the reaction from this offence? And he's thinking himself, the only solution I have actually to take initiation from him. This is the proper action. So Gadadhar, he submitted this proposal to Mukunda, and who in turn presented to Pundarik Vijayanidhi. And Mukunda gave a full account of Gadadhar's actual very high qualifications. And so hearing this proposal, Pundarik Vijayanidhi, he became very happy. And he said, actually very humbly, he said, Providence has this bestowed upon me a great jewel. Certainly I'll accept him. You shouldn't have any doubt about that. It is the result of many lifetimes of good fortune that one gets to have a disciple such as Gadadhar. So on a auspicious day, Sri Gadadhar Pandit, he received initiation from Pundarik Vijayanidhi. So one day Gadadhar, he brought some pan to Sri Gauranga. It's like slightly intoxicating sort of herbal material. To Sri Gauranga, in an exuberance of emotion, he asked Gadadhar, where is that beautiful blackish boy who was dressed in yellow garments? And after asking that, Sri Gauranga, he just shedding tears again and again. And Gadadhar, he was just surprised by such a reaction. He couldn't immediately think of what to say. He finally respectfully suggested, perhaps he's in your heart. And hearing this, Mahaprabhu, he started ripping his cloth and his skins with his nail, trying to get in to see Krishna within the heart. But Gadadhar, he quickly grabbed his hands and stopped him. And Mahaprabhu said, Gadadhar, let me go. I cannot remain a moment more without seeing Krishna. And then Gadadhar, he said, look, try to be a little patient and calm yourself. Krishna will come any minute now. And in different words, Mahaprabhu, he began to calm down, become a little bit composed. So Sachimata, Nimai Pandit's mother, he heard all this from a distance and came running there. And she was very pleased with Gadadhar. She said, actually, you're just a boy, but you are very intelligent. I myself am frightened to become before my son when he's in such a mood. But Gadadhar, you have very cleverly pacified him. And she said that you must remain with my son all the time. If you're with him all the time, I won't have to worry anymore. So one day Sri Gadadhar, having heard that Mahaprabhu will speak Krishna Katha at Suklambara Brahmachari's house, he went there and sat down inside. So meanwhile, Mahaprabhu, he arrived outside and began to speak in Krishna Katha with the devotees outside the house in the veranda. But Gadadhar, inside, he was listening. And so soon Mahaprabhu, he becomes so absorbed in the ecstasy of Krishna Prem, and all the other devotees were becoming that same Krishna Prem, and it spread to everybody. And Gadadhar himself inside, he couldn't control his ecstasy, and he began crying very loudly inside. And Mahaprabhu, he sort of stopped, and he could hear that crying inside. Who is that? Who is that crying in the room? And Suklambara Brahmachari said, that is your Gadadhar. And Mahaprabhu, he explained, he come inside, said, Gadadhar, you are so pious and virtuous since your very childhood. You are so devoted to Krishna. My life has been wasted. Due to my previous evil activities, I cannot get the association of the Lord of my life, Sri Krishna. So he is speaking very humbly. He's recognizing that Gadadhar was so fortunate that he was crying and crying again in separation out of listening to Krishna's pastimes. And after that, he embraced, Nimai embraced Gadadhar, and both of them shed tears in great ecstasy. So, one day after roaming through the town of Navadvip, Mahaprabhu came to a forest and situated himself there. Then he began to remember his pastimes in Braj. And Mukunda, he began to sing very sweet courtship songs in that mood of Braj, like Radha and Krishna courtship songs. And at the same time, Gadadhar, he was collecting flowers in the forest and making a beautiful garland, and putting that garland on Nimai Pandit's neck. So it was in the way that Sri Radha used to decorate Krishna in Vrindavan. And so Gadadhar began to dress Nimai in the exact same manner, and then Nimai Pandit, taking Gadadhar by his side, sitting him next to him on a like a dais at the base of one tree, and Advaita Acharya began to offer arti, and everybody was thinking, actually, this is just like Radha and Krishna. It was Nimai Pandit and Gadadhar, but everybody was in that mood of Braj. This is Radha and Krishna sitting together. And eventually, after some time, as we know, Mahaprabhu, he took up his residence after he took sannyas, residence in Neelachala, Jagannath Puri, and Gadadhar, out of separation, he also went to live with him in Jagannath Puri, and he engaged himself in the service of Tota Gopinath deity, which is just close to the beach in Puri. So Mahaprabhu would very often visit his dear friend Gadadhar and lose himself in discussions on the topics of Sri Krishna. And at one point, because Gadadhar, he took the vow of Kshetra Sannyas, meaning that he would only stay in one place and engage in his service, and he wouldn't travel anywhere else. But at one point, Lord Chaitanya, he was going to leave Jagannath Puri to go to Vrindavan. Gadadhar was unable to bear that separation and wanted to go with him. But Mahaprabhu mildly chastised him. You have taken that vow of Kshetra Sannyas. You have to stay here and worship Tota Gopinath. And Gadadhar, he said, to hell with this vow, to hell with this Kshetra Sannyas. But anyway, eventually he followed that instruction and very sadly went back and stayed in Jagannath Puri to continue his service. But while he was there, Gadadhar Pandit, he would always reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the devotees would very much relish these daily recitations. So, of course, it comes to the question that, because Lord Chaitanya was Krishna and Radha together, they combined. So where was the need of Radha to also appear as Gadadhar Pandit, like appearing twice? In the Panchatattva, you have Radha and Krishna as Lord Chaitanya, and Radharani again as Gadadhar. So this is a question that's been posed. So the answer to this is given particularly in Chaitanya Bhagavat, but other acharyas have commented that the answer is that it has been explained that Mahaprabhu is Krishna in search of a loving sentiment that Radha has for him. So that's one of the primary understandings. Krishna, he wants to know, experience that love that Radha has for him. So he manifests as Radha and Krishna together in the mood of Radha to experience that love that Radha has for himself. So Shri Gadadhar Pandit represents that bhav personified, that loving sentiment that Radha has. And thus he has appeared to be at the side of Mahaprabhu to assist him in that search. In this explanation, Gadadhar gives his unalloyed love to Lord Gauranga willingly. So Gadadhar represents that which is left of Radha after Krishna steals her bhav. So Krishna is stealing Radha's bhav, and what's left once Radharani's bhav is gone, that's Gadadhar. That's what Gadadhar represents. So all this indicates the condition of the heart or nature of Sri Gadadhar. He is thus feeling empty and lets everyone know about it. It is said that what remains in him is the bhav of Rukmini, who is Radha's expansion in Dwarka. So in a sense you can say Gadadhar is a combination of Radha's bhav and Rukmini's bhav. And Krishna, he plunders the Radharani aspect, and what is left is specifically, that's Gadadhar, is the Rukmini bhav that's left over. So thus his surface mood is Gaura Lila. In Gaura Lila is like that of a Dakshin or right wing gopi. You know, we've got two groups, left wing and right wing. So the right wing gopi rather than a Vama or left wing gopi. So the Vama type is little aggressive in nature and fights with the lover. So this is Srimati Radharani. She is not just submissive to Krishna. She fights and is aggressive, and she gets in bad moods, like in Mand. You know, it's like she's not submissive to Krishna. But that's the left wing, but the right wing is always very submissive. So Gadadhar is taken on that submissive mood, which is the Rukmini bhav. It's a little esoteric, but however, to prove Gadadhar's dedication as that right wing, he is submissive to the extreme. So the Dakshin or the right wing, it tolerates everything, whatever comes. However, whatever Krishna treats the left wing, they just, the right wing, the Dakshin type, they just tolerate everything. They just tolerate. So when the spirit of Radharani, of that opposing nature, was drawn out by Mahaprabhu, then what remains is compared like that of Rukmini, as a passive seer without any power to assert herself, bearing everything in a very pitiable condition. The idea is to awaken kindness and sympathy from everyone. So we shouldn't think that this is mundane suffering. This is pure love of God. But it's a certain bhav, certain ras that Gadadhar is experiencing in that mood of Rukmini. So what is he and what is she and what is her position now, and how her lover has taken up everything from her, looted everything from her, leaving her as a beggar wandering in the street. When Radharani is looted to such a degree by Krishna, that becomes Gadadhar, the pitiable figure So very poetic. Just as in Raj, Srimati Radharani is the queen and proprietor of everything, so also Gadadhar is master of everything, but still here he has given everything to his master, and thus in one sense he is empty. This mood of his being empty is unique. He is playing in such a way as Gadadhar Pandit. His is the highest position of self-sacrifice. So Radharani is fighting, arguing with Krishna, but Gadadhar in the mood of Rukmini just tolerating everything. So while Nimai Pandit showed his character as an aggressor, impertinent, and extraordinary genius, but Gadadhar Pandit was just the opposite. He had some natural inclination that was in his submission and total dedication towards Nimai Pandit. And Nimai Pandit also had some special attraction for Gadadhar Pandit. Of course, because, that's also Radharani, Rukmini. But Gadadhar Pandit could not face Nimai Pandit directly, some sort of shyness he felt about Nimai Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit had a very intimate relationship with Mahaprabhu, in which the acharyas such as Srup Damodar, Rupa, Sanatan, Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Das, all of them could see both Radharani and Rukmini in Gadadhar's personality. They could see both manifesting there. So thus the Leela of Mahaprabhu in Puri, which is a representative of Dwarka, is imbued with the Aishvarya or opulence. Indeed, this Aishvarya is said to have weighed deeply on Gadadhar Pandit and influence his loving sentiment of Rukmini Bhav. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says of Gadadhar in Tejan Chautamrita, he mentions that in Puri Dham, that because he was influenced by Aishvarya Gan of Gauranga, he was always submissive. He could not be angered by Mahaprabhu, even when Mahaprabhu tried to anger him, and see the mood of Radha in him. Krishnadas Kaviraj, he also pointed out that even as Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu tried to anger Gadadhar, he could not draw out this sentiment from him because he maintained a temperament like that of Rukmini. So there was always that Gauranga, he was trying to draw out, Radha, as we've said, but what was left of Rukmini, and Rukmini, that Rukmini Bhav was always tolerant. He would always tolerate whatever Mahaprabhu was, whatever way he was being treated. He would always be so tolerant and submissive. And so one time Srup Damodar Goswami asked Gadadhar why he did not reproach Mahaprabhu and instead just simply tolerated Mahaprabhu's criticisms of him. And to this Gadadhar replied that the master is independent. He is the topmost omniscient person. If I speak on an equal level with him, this will not be good for me. So that was Rukmini's mood, I'm not equal. Radharani thinks she's not just equal, actually superior. There was one story of some of the cowherd boys was going around Vrindavan forest, loudly proclaiming that Krishna is the king of Vrindavan. And the gopis couldn't bear to hear that. And so, no, he's not. And with sticks, they attacked the boys and said, you submit to Radharani, she is the queen. And eventually the boys had to submit because they were being beaten soundly by sticks. That yes, no, we made a mistake. Actually, Radharani is the queen. So that's Radharani. But Rukmini is just the opposite. She'll just tolerate. So that was Gadadhar's mood. So nevertheless, it is stated that no one loves Gauranga more than Sri Gadadhar. Yet even though he takes much abuse and neglect from Gauranga, still he cannot leave him. His necessity and dependency is very great. The understanding is that without Mahaprabhu, he is transcendentally incomplete. Thus he wants to get his bhav back from Krishna to again become complete. And that complete united whole is Radha and Krishna. So of course Rukmini, as a goddess of fortune, she is an expansion of Radharani. So to unite Gora with Gadadha, or in other words, Radha and Krishna, that is the highest ideal of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So, as I said, Gadadha Pandit, very simply, he's Radharani, but there's so much more in that very deep, sort of esoteric understanding of that relationship between Lord Gauranga and Gadadha. So perhaps we'll end there. Thank you very much. If there's any questions or comments. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. You knew that.
I know that. That's why I didn't ask publicly, because they just had a big
Yeah, so he was sitting by the tree and he got Gadana to sit next to him, and their associates were offering arti, and everybody recognising actually this is Radha and Krishna.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, there's a lot that I learned. I never knew most of that before I researched. Yeah, nor did I.
And I've been, when I was in Thailand for years, hearing my classes. It's pretty amazing. Every time I go to class, I learn stuff.
So it's Radha and Rukmini Bar. That's Gadana. So Lord Chaitanya, he plunders the Radha Bar, and what's left, that's Rukmini, and that's what Gadana is experiencing.
Say that again.
That's what Gadana is experiencing, is the Rukmini, because he's always tolerant and submissive, But Radha has been taken by Gauranga, and so that's gone. But what's left is Rukmini, and that's Gadana.
Thank you so much.